freeway, slanging my, banging my, swinging my coup. DeVille, scoop, DeVille.
Welcome to Neutral Voices. I'm Dr. V, and this is In Depth, where we dig deep in the trenches of what matters. And tonight, what matters is the writer's strike is over, baby.
It's over, yes.
Yay, and especially yay for our guest tonight, Mr. Jamarcus J.T. Turner. If you don't know, you will after tonight's show. Welcome.
Welcome, Jay. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me.
Man, so outside of us going way back, right? Okay. Way back.
Like I was in diapers.
I won't tell you. I was going to say that I was his partial babysitter.
Well, partial.
You know,
I wasn't allowed in your room at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sister is feeling aged up in here. Anyway, so you're looking good, looking well.
Thank you. So do you.
Yeah, thank you. And so, there's a lot we need to get into, but I'm going to give the floor to you coming out the gate so you can tell us a little bit, backstory, bring us up to par. You don't have to go to grade school and all of that good stuff, but just give us like your story in a nutshell.
I'll give you the Cliff Notes.
Yeah, there it is.
I'm born and raised in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I went to Elmhurst, graduated from Elmhurst, did a lot of stuff at Elmhurst, sports and other stuff, plays, musicals, stuff like that. Wanted to go to school, went for maybe a semester, came back home and was like, all right, well, I'm going to work a little bit and I'm going to go back to school. And then I started having kids. And so I didn't do that. And instead, I worked in factories for 17 years around here, BF Goodrich, and driving forklift on third shift for a couple years. I had a job where I busted cinder blocks with a sledgehammer for 10 hours a day for $10 an hour here. I did. And the last job I was at, I was building plastic tanks over at APR on Lima Road, which is probably the best job I ever had as far as jobs go. And while I was there, I'm on Twitter. I was on Twitter a lot. I'm still on Twitter a lot, Mr. Marcus 260. And I was on Twitter a lot, and I say a lot of stuff. And so this writer and comedian, he saw me on Twitter. And, he would say something funny. I would laugh. I would say something funny. He would laugh, something like that. And then in January of 2020, he DM'd me. January 1st of 2020, he DM'd me. And he was just like, hey, man, what do you do? And I was like, I build plastic tanks in Indiana. What's it like being famous? I just thought, he was chopping it up. And he was like, man, I think you should write. And so he bought me a book about writing which is called the TV Writer's Workbook off of Amazon. He sent it to my house and he bought me a writing program called Fade In. And I started writing scripts and sending them to him. And they were bad at first. And then one guy, I guess one was pretty good. And I had that on deck. I just had it. And about a year goes by, and Jon Stewart, The Problem with Jon Stewart on Apple TV, they're looking for writers. So they're doing a nationwide search. It starts on Twitter where you put in a packet, and if they like you, it's a blind submission. So they're not going to know it's a friend or nothing like that. It's just if they like the writing, you're going to make it to the next round. And so I submitted a packet because I'm working 60-hour weeks at this factory, and what's some good exercise,
Right.
It couldn't hurt nothing.
Right.
I made it to the next round, and then I made it to the next round, and I made it to the round after that, and I finally made it to the final round, and they emailed me and was like, we're not going to hire you for this job. And I was like, cool. Well, I'm still working 60-hour weeks in this factory. It really didn't matter. I didn't think I was going to get it anyway.
Right.
So it didn't matter, but they said, hey, look, but we really like your writing. We want to do you have anything we could send to some executives we know? I said, yes, I do. The good one, the one I thought was good, and the other people thought was good too. I was like, I do have something. So I sent that to them on a Sunday evening, I finally got around to it and emailing it. And by Wednesday morning, I had a meeting scheduled with Disney. They had read my script and passed it around, and they really, really loved it. And they wanted to talk to the person who had written it because it is a little crazy. And so they talked to me, and they liked me. And then they started telling people they like me. So then producers started hitting me up, and they wanted to talk to me because they like me. Yeah. And then agents and managers started hitting me up because they realized one of them producers, executives, was probably going to pay me to write soon. And so I picked an agent and a manager. And they sent me out on a job interview like 2 weeks after I picked an agent and a manager, and they were like, "Hey, you're not gonna get this job. This is just a kind of warm up interview here. It's a real interview, but you're not really gonna get this job. It's a Chuck Lorre show. They don't really, they hire like their friends and their 60-year-old white dudes is really all they hire." And I was like, "Okay, cool, but still, the people I was meeting with, I was going to meet with Jeannie Ashere, which was one of my heroes in comedy. So to me, I was already going to have an opportunity to meet her, and then I had an opportunity to meet Al Higgins. I didn't know much about him, but I knew about his brothers. So I was like, I'm excited, and I had the meeting. And then a few hours later, my agents and managers called me. It was like, they're going to hire you, and so I got the job.
The job that they didn't think you would get.
That spanned between July 15th when I submitted the first draft of the packet to the Jon Stewart Show February 15th, 2021, submitting the first draft of the packet to the Jon Stewart Show, to July of 2021. I had an agent and a manager, and I already had a job at this thing.
Oh, that's fast.
So like 5 months.
Incredible.
It went pretty fast.
Man, that is a story, because this is not something you went to college for.
No, it is not. No.
Okay, so
I didn't go to school.
So being a writer for Hollywood or anything connected to a movie, a sitcom, etc., had never even entered your mind.
No, because it's like walking with a limp almost, right? Mm-hmm. If I had a limp right now, somebody would have to tell me that I walk with a limp. Right. I wouldn't know, because it's just how I walk. It's just how I walk, right? So finally somebody told me I walk with, I'm like, oh, I'm a writer. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be writing. Okay, right. Yeah, I wonder why I do these. Like, I would do like a little short story here or there for no reason besides I just like writing short stories. I'll just write this short story, and I was pretty good with words when I was young, all through when I was young, and it took somebody else being like, I think you should write, for me to be like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Now everybody is like, oh yeah, you definitely should have been a writer.
Right.
Well, I wish somebody would have told me. I wish somebody would have said something day one of me working in these factories. That'd have been real dope. I would have been working on this instead of working on driving a forklift.
Isn't that amazing how somebody else, even outside of your home, outside of your family, outside of your friends or your circle, will see your purpose or potential?
I think that's what it takes. It's somebody outside.
It's strangers, because even though people are close to you or are your family per se, I feel like a lot of times it's strangers that will say, you know what, this really struck me, or hey, this resonated with me, or whatever. And something I heard you say many times during your story was, but I didn't think I was going to get it. I was just doing it. Like, the whole time you're doing it for the experience, thinking there's no way. So at what point were you like, did you go from there's no way to, I think I have it? Like,
I'll tell you the moment. Usually when they renew shows, it's around my birthday. My birthday is in January, right? So the people on the shows will hear about, especially network shows, when they renew. I had a 3-year contract, but it's also, they could have stopped it at 12 weeks, 10 weeks. They could have been like, we're going to do these 10 weeks, and then or they could have fired me any time after that if they wanted to. So I just figured I was going to get fired. That whole, for real, I started working.
You didn't really have high hopes, did you?
I mean, I didn't go to school for this. Right. You know what I mean? And so I didn't really, I just figured I was going to get fired. And then January came around, and I got a phone call from my agents who were like, hey, congratulations. I'm like, what are y'all talking about? It's like, well, you're on for next year, and they gave you a bump. They even gave you a raise. You're going to be story editor now. And I'm just like, okay, cool. Nobody mentioned that to me. I didn't know if I was doing well or not. And that right there told me, well, dang, maybe I can do this. Yeah. If this is what I've been doing, and it warranted a raise and bringing me back for the next season, then I think I can do this.
You have to be doing something right.
I got to be doing something.
And so since you mentioned doing something right for a season and coming back, so how many seasons did you write for?
2. I'm on season 3, where half the episodes, because I'm just a staff writer. I was just a staff writer on season 3. Then I only got credited for like half of the episodes, like 10. I got like 9 or 10 credits that first year. And then season 4, I'm a story editor, so my name is on every single episode from season 4. And then half of the episodes in the front, where like you see like the names listed, but in the back I'm on every episode. And then in the front, it's depending on if I wrote directly on that episode or I have a credit directly on that episode.
Okay, it's crazy because you have to say the name of the sitcom that you was writing for, because I mess it up every time.
Bob Hart's Abishola. That's the name of the show. It comes on Mondays at 8:30. Love the show.
Abishola.
Yeah, Abishola.
And is she really Nigerian?
Absolutely is. And she is Nigerian, and she's so tall you wouldn't wouldn't think that she's like 5'11".
Wow.
Or almost 6 feet tall. You wouldn't be able to tell with them standing next to each other, but she's very tall.
Wow.
And actually, the mom on the show, Dottie, the woman who plays Dottie,
Yes.
she's also tall. She's like 5'10".
Oh, she looks super short.
She looks short, but compared to the other people on the show, Billy's like 6 feet tall, and then she's like almost 6 feet tall. Then she's tall. She modeled in New York before.
Oh
this.
wow! Yeah. So it's pretty cool. Nice. I like the plot. I like that they got this white man, this conservative white man.
Yeah, he's relatively conservative.
Chasing this black Nigerian woman.
You've seen it before, though.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But I'm just saying he chasing her down with socks and everything. I'm just saying. So yeah. So I like it. And when I looked at some of the viewers, I'll say their comments, the analytics on the show, it seems like a lot of people like the show. Like it got like a 4.7 out of 5.
The people who like it really like it. It's a sweet show. The reason why I wanted, one of the main reasons, I was already watching the show before I did the interview. That also helped me.
Amazing.
I was a factory worker forever. Good. He owns a factory, so it's just like I was already like, oh, this is for me. I watch this. He's in the Midwest. They in Detroit. Yeah. It's like, okay, I know these people. Yeah. I met these people. I work next to these people. Right. I watch this show. And so when I was watching the show already, that gave me a leg up. It's a sweet show. It starts with heart. It's not them constantly fighting each other or hating each other. It's more like we love each other. The rest of the world is attacking, or we have a problem coming in from the outside. Right. But it's not those two. Those two love each other. Yeah. And we make sure that their love is established in the show. It helps drive the rest of the series.
Man, so okay. Oh, Clarence, I don't know. I don't want to take over everything just because.
I was just listening, because I like his story, and I like how it came so fast. But my thing is, I want to ask, how do you submit? Like, if you're a writer in a writer's room, how do you get your part in, or how do you submit your part? What's the process of, okay, we're going to use this, what you wrote, towards this story?
Well, I was in a good situation because I'm the guy that worked in factories for 17 years. So if it's a factory question, they're coming straight to me. Okay. Like, there was an episode, I think it's going to air either coming up this week or it just aired last week, but it's called Put That Toe on Ice or Put That Finger on Ice or something like that. And the B plot, the secondary plot is that Bob's brother hurts his finger on a machine. Now, they wanted Bob's brother to lose get the fingertip cut off, and then they rush it to the hospital like how TV shows do it. They put it on ice and then they reattach the finger. Yeah. And then I had to raise my hand in the writer's room and be like, hey, do y'all know what happens to a finger when it gets hit with a blade that thick? Because it's not reattachable. Right. That's not what happens. It eats it up. Like, I've seen somebody lose a finger on a saw blade, dog, and it's not cute. It's not a scalpel cut. Right. It's a thick, jagged, gross. You're not getting that finger back. It's hamburger meat. So we had to do something else. But to have me in the room for that, it adds a level of authenticity, because this is somebody who I have avoided losing fingers for 17 years, and it's not cute at all to me.
They could just put the finger on ice.
I know for a fact. I got somebody at APR right now counting to 9.5.
This is not just Bob Hart. You had the real heart in it because you was affiliated.
It's good to understand what position you're playing in that. Some people are brilliant with plot. Some people are great with story. You get it in, however you find your place to get it in, and you make sure to get it in there. If it's a storyline that you want to pitch them, you want to go like, look, I think that this happens in factories. So I pitched a third shift story to them 5 times. And it wasn't because it was a good story. It wasn't going to be a good story. It's because I, in my head, couldn't reconcile the fact that this factory doesn't have a third shift like every factory that I've ever worked at. I just kept on pitching. I was like, hey, man, y'all know this is ridiculous. They're giving up this much money, right? Like, they would never give up this much money not having second and third shifts. It just wouldn't happen. What? They have third shift? Like, yeah, they work nonstop. It's just putting socks in boxes, dog. They would have somebody doing that 24 hours a day until these orders is full. Yeah. It just was bothering me. It did not help with this plot at all, but they listen to that because I'm the guy that worked in factories. So at least they're going to hear me out on why I would want to do that. Yeah. So it's just about making sure you have whatever your voice is going to be in the room, Find it. Find your place. Okay. It's by committee. You know, all them lines you see, just because my name is on the script does not mean I was the only one that worked on. We all worked on all of them.
Yeah.
So
that's good. Yeah. So growing up, who did you grow up like watching as far as actors, TV shows?
I watched
your favorites.
I was a weird kid, as you know, but yeah, she does. It's okay. It's fine now. I'm an adult now. As soon as the beard grew in, nobody cared how weird I was. But
we know now too. Yeah, been here 5 minutes.
Fine. As long as these locks stay crinkly, that's what they're gonna be focused on.
They're
nah, but so I was a weird kid, so I watch everything on TV. So I watch Nick at Night all night with all the old shows, and then I'm watching all the reruns of Cheers and Night Court and Perfect Strangers and Golden Girls and all of these other shows. I'm watching all the black shows. I'm watching all the other shows too. So I got in a very eclectic taste because I didn't have cable in my room and I could only watch what they put on the television.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I was going to watch what they put on the television because the other option was doing nothing. I wasn't gonna do that. So I got it from everywhere.
Right.
From every different direction I picked up stuff from. I didn't just watch Martin. You know what I mean? But I love Martin.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I also
diverse.
And then you can see the repetition that they have in these shows where you realize, like, oh, it's the same show. It's just this guy is different from this guy on this show. This guy is different from that. They do a lot of the same boilerplate stories. And stories are the most important thing you can bring with you to LA. Nobody has any stories out there. Not for real. The people who are in most of the writers' rooms that you see, or the TV shows, they went to USC or they went to some school down in Southern California. They're from Southern California. They went to a school in Southern California. They know somebody who works in the business. They like, well, my uncle is this. I'm gonna become an assistant, and then I'll work my way into this writer's room. And they only know about that path existing because they know people who've done that path. If you don't know it exists, you wouldn't think to do it. I got a million stories because I didn't do that. I didn't come to LA when I was 21 after graduating from USC. I had a family and a life and worked in factories for almost 2 decades, and I've got a million stories. That dude losing his finger is not even the best story I got by far.
Right. So right here in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and you own Twitter.
I'm constantly on Twitter all the time saying terrible things.
And so I'm saying, so just like that, it can happen.
Yes.
So, and I say that to say that social media is not all bad. Some great things could happen from people hanging out on social media.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's some other great things that you are involved in because you haven't forgotten Fort Wayne, Indiana.
No.
You love Fort Wayne.
I love Fort Wayne so much.
I heard through the grapevine you was kind of heartbroken when the Mad Ants were like gone.
It hurts.
Bring the tissue.
I hate seeing that stuff. You know what I mean? I love basketball, so we've always had a basketball team here. We had the Fort Wayne Fury, and we had Master P playing for him when I was a kid. Yeah. So to not have a basketball team in Fort Wayne, we're the home of the Zollner Pistons.
You're right.
We're the reason that the Detroit Pistons have the name that they have. It's not because Detroit is the home of automotives and stuff. It's because Fort Wayne was the home of Zollner, and they sponsored the team, and they named the team the Pistons because they make pistons.
You gonna educate tonight?
Well, I'm just saying, like, for us to not have a team is ridiculous.
I agree.
But yes, I do love Fort Wayne very, very much. So every year, even though I am out in LA and I am doing work, and every year I host a comedy show. It's a showcase for Fort Wayne talent.
Yes.
If you saw me on the news or anything like that, that's what it is. And it's Fort Wayne's finest, and we have
Fort Wayne's finest. If y'all want to take a look at the finest.
Yeah, and we have them every year. We're gonna have one. It's me hosting the comedy show, bringing out local comedians or local-ish comedians. I want to get some people from Chicago on the next one.
Yeah, that's good. Now, will it be at the same place? Are you doing different locations in the city? Because I know you was like pumping up the
We're thinking about moving. Yeah, we did. I just did an impromptu show. Shout out to the city for reaching out because definitely needed that back. But I did an impromptu show at the Promenade Park Pavilion. But this coming up here, really my show that I produce, the only show that I produce here in Fort Wayne that I know you're going to know for sure I'm performing at and know for sure that I'm going to be there is Fort Wayne's Finest.
Okay.
So
that's
I
awesome.
do one show a year.
We got to get that on the calendar. So when we find out those dates, we'll make sure everybody knows those dates so we can be in the building.
And I'm thinking about having it at the same venue, but I will definitely see because we had not been getting the traction. You can't use the name that they know the venue by, that most of us know the name of the venue by, it's not the name we can legally use to get people to come to the venue. So we have to use the name that, but people don't know that. The actual name of the venue is hard. It's like, you'd be like, hey man, hand me that tissue. And you're like, the Kleenex? It's like, well, it's not really Kleenex, it's the name.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's like that.
That
it's
is
like
interesting.
that. Yeah, so.
Okay. Well, we're going to
So that's why it's making it tough. I might have to find a new place. It'd be easier for people to find it.
Wow. Okay, so before we get out of here, we got to talk about this strike.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because the strike, I mean, y'all was asking for something. So obviously y'all had to go up high so you can get what you wanted, or close to what you wanted, right? So I know at one point where you guys asking for 2% of
what they make.
They make. So talk about that.
I think we were asking for 2% of their income. I don't know if we necessarily reached that threshold of like how much we would make, but we all got raises. They created a new producer position that's right above executive story editor. So for instance, I was at story editor, then it's executive story editor, and then it's this new producer spot. The new producer spot is going to pay more than an executive story editor. So that's going to be good, and it leaves a place for you to evolve to that isn't a jump from executive story editor straight to producer, like producer. So we got all of that stuff. We got a residual based model for these streaming services. It's going to be, I believe it's tiered, which is not, instead of every time somebody watches it, it generates some income. It's more like, if your show reaches this level right here, you'll get this check. If your show reaches this level right here, you're going to get this check.
Like the YouTube model and the Spotify model. And
right.
Like,
yeah. And instead of, the YouTube model and the Spotify model is like each stream. Right.
Well, YouTube, I think you got to, before you get paid, you have to reach a platform.
For sure.
Yeah. And then after that, it's like that. But you have to reach, and then when you reach a certain other platform, that's when your pay increases. And Spotify is the same way. They do for streams, but you got to reach a platform or a threshold. And then once you hit that threshold.
That's what we signed up for then. And, it's cool if you're going to be on a hit show. It's great. And if you're not, get on a hit show.
Yeah.
It's, it's pretty much it. But that doesn't mean we didn't get that. We needed that because they were giving nothing.
Right.
Imagine you wrote on Stranger Things and it gets, and they advertise that it does 200 million viewers, and you got none of that.
Right.
I'll use this as an example.
Dave Chappelle. He used that.
Not just Dave. I play basketball with some of the people who write and produce on Abbott Elementary, right? Abbott Elementary is one of the biggest shows on television, right? We had this rec league where it's like the showrunner from Abbott Elementary and some big producers and some of their also other writing producers, right? They're all on our team. Right. I talked to one of the writing producers, and we get a higher rating live, right, than Abbott Elementary does on their live showing. But 40 million people turn around and watch Abbott Elementary the next day on Hulu. They basically advertise Abbott Elementary like it's a Hulu show, right? They get nothing for that. They get like $500 some every 3 months for that. That's for it to be the biggest show on this platform, and what they get in return is basically nothing. They get what they got paid for, and the residuals aren't the same as they would be if all those people were watching on network. But the networks know those people aren't watching on network, and they still run ads on Abbott Elementary while they're streaming it, and still don't pay them more money.
Okay, that's what I wanted you to talk about a little bit, the difference between the network and the streaming. So as far as you getting your checks, you get residual every time
I get residuals
show is shown? Or?
Every month I'll get a residual, but I'll get like the same $500 some they get every 3 months. I'll get that because it's like a platform fee. They like paying me because it's on this platform. They negotiated this flat rate for having it on their platform, right? They get to keep the rest of the money. Right, but my residuals for live, like when it comes on live, I get a great check for when they put it on the first time, and then a rerun is pretty much a half of what I got paid. To run, so a first time network rerun. Now that diminishes after it's not a network rerun. Let's say it's been syndicated, right? There's no syndication market anymore,
right?
Because because if the studio owns the show, why would they sell it to 50 different markets when they could just own it and keep it on their platform, and then you have to come to their platform to watch it. So they don't syndicate it to the 50, 60 different markets anymore. So it doesn't generate the income that it used to. And if it's not going to generate the income that it used to, they don't need to put the money into it that they use. Exactly. So and then they stop putting money into it, and you look up and they canceling something, or they cutting the budget to the bare bones.
Wow.
I had a question before we get out of here, because I know your story and I know your history. You followed your dream because of a promise you made. Am I correct? Mm-hmm. Who was that promise to, and what was that promise?
Well, I have my little brother Jimmy, who he passed away in October of 2020, right? And I had promised him, like, look, man, if you find me an open mic, I'll start doing stand-up comedy. We had always sat around and talked and laughed and even came up with jokes together and stuff like that. So if you find me an open mic, I'm gonna go. And we just never found one. And the week after he passed away, saw a flyer for an open mic. I had never seen one here before, ever. And I went, and I kept on going, and I never stopped. And I probably will never stop. So I love doing stand-up just as much as I love writing. And I always close out every show with "I love you, Jimmy."
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Oh, that is so beautiful. All right. Well, my goodness. I think you hit all my questions that I had on my list. Mm-hmm. And so, anything else, Jill?
Well, I want to ask also how, now that you have your own platform and you do Fort-Wayne Finest, how do you go about finding talent? How can people audition for you? And I got a part B. What is your residual? I know I had to get it out because I'm looking at the time. What is your residual that you could do to help people to continue to grow and help yourself grow in the business as well?
The advice I could give anybody is just show up for everything. Like everything. I would not have the job I have if I didn't show up for a job I didn't get. Mm-hmm. So show up for everything. Be ready to show up for everything.
That's good.
Be prepared to deal with whatever you're going to deal with, as far as that goes. As far as getting on my shows, it's real simple. I do stand up around here. So if I see you doing stand up, like if you have an act and you are a stand up comic, you're going to get my attention. I want to put you on the show.
Okay.
If you have an act and you are a stand up comic, I want these stand-ups on the show. Okay. Like there are great stand-up comics all around here. There really are.
Right next to you over there.
Yeah. Okay.
Jill.
You do comedy too? Hey, look, you come out to the open mics, start coming out to the open mics, work on your set. You can get 10 minutes together in a year, and then come see me. Yeah. Seriously, 10 minutes in a year is not easy, but it's not the hardest thing in the whole world either. Right. But you just got to figure out what is yours. You got to keep on going back over it. It's hard. Being a stand-up is not like super easy, but
sit down more.
That's good. That's a vibe too. You pull up a stool. If you got a storytelling model, you can. There's plenty of storytelling comics. Okay. So that's how you get my attention. Be out there doing the shows, and I will be seeing those.
Let me ask this question. So, did we have an audience question? Okay.
Yeah, like one part I heard in the strike was about the AI
and
the writing.
Mm-hmm.
So how are they going to protect you guys once that comes?
Well, they've built in some protections where they can't just spit out besides the fact that a lot of authors are now suing the AI companies, which is going to make them unusable here pretty soon. You got a lot of big authors. George R.R. Martin, who wrote A Song of Fire and Ice, or Song of Ice and Fire, the Game of Thrones series, and a lot of those other big authors have teamed up together to sue the Chat GTP and all of the other places because they take all of their work and they mince it up into a little pile and then they spit it out into a script. And they're like, no, we came up with this whole cloth. You didn't come up with this whole cloth. It came from everybody else's work, blended up together.
That's right, because you got to put something in that Chat GPT.
Yeah, exactly. So it cannot make it from nothing.
That's right.
That's not how it works. But the protections that they built in for us is so that they can't just poop out a script, have the thing poop out a script, and have one guy come in there for a few weeks and smooth it out and turn it into a human normal script and then put it out.
That's dirty.
We have multiple protections built in to keep that from happening, including the staff room minimum. That's where the writers' room minimums were coming from, is because they will hire 3 people to do the job of 10 and go, well, the GPT is doing most of it. It's like, it's not. What it's doing is making a product that is not even close to what we really need, but it has the shape of what we really need. And then we're in charge charge of reshaping it. Yeah, that's us still doing all the work.
And but the Chat GPT getting the credit.
Not just getting the credit. It ain't no. It's the money that they had on the budget ain't going.
They don't have
ain't
to-
going to us. They don't got to pay that no more.
Right.
They get to save that. They get to
Wow.
save hundreds of thousands of dollars by being cheaper. Which I ain't mad at them for trying to be cheaper, but that don't help me.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're right. You gotta eat.
Yeah.
You know. Okay. So
Ribs just touching, boy.
and so I'm just thinking about the number of writers, and because we don't know, we on this side, so we got 10,000 writers, 5,000. What we working?
We have
with here?
11,000 writers in the WGA, East Coast and West Coast. That includes people who work out of Atlanta, work out of Chicago, work anywhere in the United States.
So it was a lot of people
was a lot of
involved in
us.
this strike.
But by comparison, there's 120,000 actors in the Screen Actors Guild. So that's way more of them. But we tell the stories, they act out the stories,
Right.
and they know that. That's what I love about them.
Right. So that's what I was going to ask you as far as the celebrities. So respect from the celebrities. How are they feeling?
They
about
love
this?
they love the celebrities. The actors love the writers. We make them look great.
Yes.
There's no reason not to love us. We don't want the attention that you're receiving.
Right.
You get to be the one that you get to go out and get all your picture taken and all of that stuff. I get to show up and I get to take my little picture and I get to walk in and nobody cares who I am, and I make great money. I do, and I make really good money, and I'm not out in the front, and I just get to chill back here, and I get to put the words in your mouth and you get to say them.
Right.
And if it's good enough, they will give you a trophy for how good you said it.
In front of everybody.
Yeah, they go, hey man, you remember that thing I wrote? Yeah, it was so good. They was like, you deserve something for that.
Right.
That's cool.
Wow.
I like that. I want to write an Emmy winning performance soon.
Yes. That's good. So that leads me to my last question before we exit. So the future of JT in Hollywood. So you hanging out. What do you see? So you can 3, 5. What's going on?
I
Or
see.
you can't tell it.
No, I see. Like this is my retirement.
Okay.
I went from working 60 hours a week in a factory to like some very nice young person bringing me coffee twice a day and bringing me food once a day into my office at Warner Brothers Studio. That is retirement for me. You know what I mean? I relax. I get to go to the gym when I want to, and I get to hang out and I get to eat all of this delicious gourmet food, which I gained so much weight. And that is so. I'm gonna do this forever. I love being in these writers' rooms. I love doing what I do. I want to work on a lot of different stuff. I like doing comedy. I also want to work on drama. I write dramedies, so it's
Yes.
funny, sad stories, which is I think what life is a funny, sad story. So
I'm so excited, and so I'm in Los Angeles quite a bit, and I'm just curious, Warner Brothers. So I can come hang out with you.
you
in the
definitely
studio.
can. If you make it to, if you come on out to LA, you for sure. You used to change my diapers. Of course, of course you can come. I'm gonna take you to the Grove.
Gotcha.
Take you down to Century City.
I'm coming.
Warner Brothers Studios.
I'm
all
on
that.
my
I'm not
way.
going down to Hollywood Boulevard though. It's too dirty. I'm not doing that.
I'll protect you.
It's filthy.
I'm familiar
It's not
with
even
it,
that.
though.
I've seen human feces before. I don't need to see it up close again.
It's
Hollywood Boulevard. It's the dirtiest place in America.
I know.
Yeah, it's and not like they don't work at it.
It's for tourists, though.
Yeah.
I
That's
know,
what I'm saying. I don't.
Put that out there. I just wanted to put that out there.
I have been down there I have been down there 5 times. 4 times was against my will.
Okay.
4 times was I'm visiting. We got to go down to the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It's like, no, we
Exactly.
don't. I could tell you about it.
Right.
Yeah, we don't have to go down there. Don't make
Just
me.
want to go see Denzel Star.
Yeah, we could do
One
that.
more thing before you go. One more important. Do you still talk to the guy with the missing finger?
No, look, listen. I go into the place. He still works there. He was gonna keep on working there. He is actually married to the owner's sister, who also works there. She's a huge deal there. So he's a big deal there too. He was my boss.
But does he know that you tell this?
No, this is
He
the first.
doesn't even-
He ain't gonna see this. I ain't worried about it.
I thought it was
Yeah.
a story you normally told about his finger. And I was like, does he know that?
That was a pertinent story I had to tell to that writer's room so they could understand. Hey man, look, when you lose a
need a
finger, it
third
don't
shift.
go like that.
Right,
That's
right.
funny.
You know what I mean? That's really what it is. But
And he doesn't even know it. He probably
Nah, he'll be all right. I mean, he knows I told him he shouldn't be pushing a piece of plastic through the saw without using the little thing that I got. I run the saw all day. And then, you know what I mean? Like, they got a little guide you can push in there. And he was like, I don't need the guide. You did.
Well.
You did need the guide, though.
Yeah.
We found out
Oh,
together.
we're not laughing at that.
Yeah.
He was part of your journey. He was part of your journey too.
Yeah, I mean, shoot. It's a terrible time, but
It's
oof.
a terrible time. Anything you want to leave our viewers with as we celebrate the strike is over? And so, yes, and you get to return to your amazing life and job.
I'm still very happy. I love Fort Wayne. I'm here quite often. You know, my family is here, but also, yes, I'm eager to get back to LA and get back to working and doing what I want. Nothing. Just thank you for having me.
Yes,
I truly appreciate it. This is great.
Yes.
Anytime. I'd be happy to do this anytime. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but anytime y'all will have me, I will be happy to be here, especially if I'm promoting something that I absolutely need to get the word out about. That probably would help too.
Yes.
If Warner Brothers needs us for anything, we're also
They
happy
do.
to-
They desperately need you. Yeah. It's funny you mentioned it. I'm selling war bonds for Warner Brothers now, so it's going.
Well, I'm excited, and I'm happy to leave our audience with the fact that you said show up for everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important to know.
And be ready for it. Don't
Be
just show
ready.
up for
Show
it.
up
Be
and be
prepared for it
prepared.
before you get there. Show up and be prepared.
Because you just never know. So be careful on Twitter and everything else, social media. You never know who's watching you. And thank you for hanging with us and hanging out with Mr. Jamarcus J.T. Turner. Woo! This is Neutral Voices. And as we always say before we exit, everyone,
Always protect your
protect your
mind.
mind. Thank you. Good night.
High speed chase 405 is the freeway. Slanging my, banging my, swinging my coupe. DeVille.